Hi there, and welcome to the monthly Hypnotherapy Uncensored Spotlight. It's June 5th, 2024, unless you're in Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Japan, parts of India, and Asia, in which case it's June 6th. Anyway, and we do actually have many members from over there. Today's Spotlight guest host is a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway, Scott Sandland. HypnoThoughts co-founder and master crafter of very fun party themes. I had a blast at the 2022 80s party theme. I am Gen X through and through, so I didn't even have to go buy anything for that costume. It was in the back of my closet. Scott Sandland is undoubtedly a visionary in the field of hypnosis. In 2017, when he was only 37 years old, he was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award for his outstanding contributions to the field. Let's hope he hasn't peaked. We were just joking about that. I'm sure he hasn't. He's been spending his time now helping to support other people and bring them up in the world of hypnosis, helping the helpers. And let's see. So after 7 years of experience, you are sharing your wealth of knowledge with the rest of us. And so what we're going to do today is delve into topics like how to build a career from scratch, artificial intelligence. That's kind of the big, buzz thing right now. And I'm sure you all have many, many questions about that. Using it for client interaction and, all sorts of other things. So I want you to get ready to be inspired and enlightened by Scott's remarkable journey, his vision for the future of hypnosis. And when you have questions, he has given his permission to just raise your hand. You can do it with your actual hand, or you can use the little emoji. Or if you are a little shy, you can pop it into the chat box and I'll read it off for you. It's your choice. And even though we're no longer live streaming into the Hypnotherapy Uncensored Facebook group due to new meta policies, this replay will be found on YouTube later. And I will post the YouTube link in the chat box, as well as the HypnoThoughts live chat link in the chat box. Did I say chat link? You know what I meant to say. Anyway, in the chat box, so that you can get tickets or find information, get the schedules, whatever you want to do there. And then you can watch this entire thing again. I'll have it uploaded probably within a day or two. So for now, let's go ahead and be sure to like and subscribe when you get over there too. I always forget to ask that. So take it away, Scott. What are you going to regale us with today, my dear?
Well, hello, everybody. How are all of you? I've got a handful of things. I am definitely planning on answering a lot of questions. So I definitely want there to be time for you guys to be interrupting and asking questions. But I want to just kind of get started and with some general ideas I've seen, and especially mistakes I've seen from practitioners and colleagues. So to back up, I got certified in 1998 by the ABH and the IMDHA. Went pretty hard and heavy early into medical hypnosis. Was on staff in a dental office for a number of years, was on staff in a doctor's office for a number of years, was on staff in like 9 or 10 drug rehab centers, had my own practice, employed about a dozen hypnotists and some psychologists and some massage therapists, did a bunch of other stuff that way, and then built HypnoThoughts Live and kind of that side. But my background really is as a clinician and as a helper. And so when I built out the clinic and employed hypnotherapists, I was watching hypnotists that were at that early stage in their career, and they were qualified and they'd all seen 50 to 100 clients minimum, some of them a couple hundred clients, but they were sort of at that stage in their career, and I was giving all of them feedback. And I saw things at that stage that I think are really interesting things to talk about because they are missed in the training. Because training gets you ready, and then there's CEUs, but there isn't that roll up your sleeves apprenticeship kind of thing very often in hypnotherapy. And so the first thing I want to share, and it seems like a silly little detail, but and by the way, interrupt me again, but so many hypnotists do this really unnecessarily breathy voice. And I'm not sure really where it came from, but this idea of hello. And as you walk towards a waterfall, you feel so good. Every time I hear any practitioner use a breathy voice, I know they see less than 4 clients a day. Because I have seen 6 clients a day, and I got sick of using that voice and it hurt my throat. So I did this early in my career. I was using the breathy voice. I was being very relaxing, and it's so soothing. And that voice blows more air over your vocal cords than your normal voice does. It dries out your vocal cords. And then if you're seeing 6 clients a week, on Thursday, you're in pain. So the first thing I tell colleagues or people that I'm watching or supervising or interning with or whatever it is whoa, 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 whoa. What's that voice? Here's my hypnotic voice. Here's my voice talking to my clients, doing an intake, doing a pre-talk. It sounds like this. Here's my hypnotic voice. It's a little bit lower. It's the exact same voice. It's a little bit lower. That's it. And I talk like this, and I use a nice, steady rhythm. That's all. It's simple. So dumb, so simple, such an easy little thing. But if you've been using a breathy voice, you have put a cap on the number of clients you can see in a week. And that is just fundamental footwork that no instructor is teaching, because many, many instructors are instructors first and practitioners second. And that is not a knock on them at all. Some people are practitioners first, some people are instructors first, and some people are administrators first, and like operators, if that makes sense. And Stephanie Skiba is an operator. She's taken more hypnosis classes than any of us, but she's not a hypnotist, even though she knows how. She's an operator. Jason Linett is in many ways an operator first, and that's not a knock on any of his talents or skills. He's just such a good operator. Richard Nongard, another friend of mine, he's a teacher first and a clinician second. And again, finding out kind of where you are in which one of these things are you first, which is also a moving target. I was a clinician first for 17 years. And then I said, for me, I wanted to shift that. So I became more of an operator, but I come to the operator stuff with a clinician's mindset. Jason, I think, is the opposite. Jason's an operator who came to clinical work with an operator's mindset. And Nongard is an author educator who came to clinical work from that bend. So I think recognizing what you are, recognizing it's okay to change, and then understanding what to do with that is important. Also recognizing who's teaching you. Yeah, one second. Who's teaching you, because they might be teaching you with their biases, which are great, but you might need to round it out with people from the other categories. Carissa, what was your question?
Oh, I just wanted to say that what you were talking about a minute ago with the voice, so important. So important that I have a whole module in my training about finding your natural resonant voice, because if you're doing that, then you're not wasting any extra oxygen. You can carry it for a really long time. It doesn't hurt your throat. But also, and this maybe is a little bit woo, if you're using your natural resonant voice tones, then people that are attracted to that voice can find you. But if you're talking normally like this and they're attracted to it, but then you get into a session and they're suddenly like this, it's not the same voice that they were attracted to in the first place. And women, this might be something you haven't thought about. Women have a particular tendency to be rewarded and praised for sounding like a little girl well into their, senior years. And we're not doing anybody any favors by talking like this all the time. So just cut that out, ladies. All right, take it away. I just wanted to say, I'm so glad you brought that up, because you're right. Nobody's teaching that. Well, I am.
Nobody's teaching
You
that.
are, but I haven't heard anybody else.
There are so many little easy things that can be done that I watch hypnotists do that that make their job harder. Most of you, well, many of you might have known Michael Elner. One of the things, yeah, Cheryl, you definitely did. One of the things about Michael was he was really good at making his work easy. And he set himself up for success so he didn't have to do hard work. You get guys like Ken Guzzo. He's doing hard work with his clients. That guy, he's great. He's a friend. He does hard work. David Snyder does hard work when he's seeing clients. David also is more a instructor who sees clients, who's great. But those guys are doing hard work with their client. They're building up this big ritual. I see this thing that's called, I call it the expectation to ritual ratio. It's inversely proportional. The more belief and expectation your client has, the less work you have to do. The less expectation belief they have, the more work you need to do. So part of the job is calibrating what their belief and expectation is in targeting, but also in amount, because that expectation is the fuel you get to burn to get them to where you want them to go. And part of the job is either getting more of that, or if it's a steep hill, you either have to generate more fuel with expectation to get there, or figure out how to get this hill lower so you don't need as much fuel. This is what Michael Ellner was great at, is making this hill lower without minimizing and disrespecting the person. And so I found a lot of my work was about doing this and getting this problem small enough that they could overcome it. And there's a school of thought that is, let's make the hypnosis this massive ritual. Let's make them feel empowered through this hypnosis and make them feel strong. And then they can make that big leap to get up here and feel really powerful and look back on them and that whole thing, right? The alternative to that is make this lower and make them feel like, yeah, these things that we think are big aren't big. Instead of you can do anything because you're powerful, it's you can do anything because it's easy. And so we just shift that. And both are good. But what I have found is when you do it this way, when you do the hard work and amplify them up, that is great for building a reputation. That is great for like showing off, which is not a bad thing. When you do the other work, people feel more empowered and they don't need you for as much. Because if you've made things easy, they come back in next year for a touch up on a new thing. They come back in 2 years because now that they've stopped biting their nails, they also want to stop whatever. And they come in for 1 or 2 sessions and it's easy. And you can just have a whole bunch of it's easy versus the ones where it's this big, long jump. And then people come in with these crazy expectations for you. It just, for me, it made my life easier by just working on reframing. And the way I get this down is with simple reframes, simple questions, simple affect and tone of voice that I have that came from years of experience. Now, by the time I developed this as sort of my way of thinking, I looked pretty good on paper. And I had a bunch of awards and I had worked in a bunch of high profile places and I had a good reputation. So I could be that disarming version of myself because people were coming in with a lot of expectation and their doctor was referring them. And so I showed up as this disarming guy because these clients were either super excited to see me or incredibly resentful of their doctor on the way in. And they're like, my doctor says I have to see you. And I think this is bullshit. I don't need help with my brain. I need to stop grinding my teeth when I sleep. And I say, cool, you do it while you're asleep. So it's an unconscious behavior. And they go, yeah. I go, well, hypnosis works with the unconscious mind. You come to the right place. And they go, oh, okay. And everything I do is just in my office, metaphorically, sort of emotionally, I kept my hands in my pockets the entire time. As a metaphor, I was so relaxed and so at ease that if a client came in with a gun, my metaphor was, all right, so we're bringing guns to work today. No problem. And that is the style of work that I found worked for me. Now, that does not mean it is the style of work that should work for you. We all have our natural styles. We all have, tendencies that will work best for us. I found for me, if I was disarming and I was a really good listener, it made a lot of the other work easy, which jumps into, by the way, stopping for a moment before I get into that next point. How are we on that? Are we good? Cool.
I really love that you drew the distinction between propping up your own ego versus propping up your, like, empowering your clients.
Yeah, I just think it's the more fun way to do it, right? If we can at the end of the day, like teach a man to fish, right? And so it's a real teach a man to fish philosophy, which means you can't, and this is what I'm actually really working on with my own son now, as he's learning to play sports, is our desire to jump on the first opportunity to help. And my favorite example of screwing this up, I'm going to keep name dropping this entire thing. And it's not because I'm name dropping, it's me showing my work so you can go see who to look for. So as I keep name dropping, understand that it's me pointing what else to see. My favorite example of rushing is Chris Thompson, and who's great, wonderful guy. I was on a podcast with him and Mike Mandel, and we were talking about something, and I brought up this idea, don't rush. And so Mike and I started doing a very simple, very one-dimensional role play. And Chris was like, jump right there. And I was like, relax, dude. Jump right there. Relax. You're right. There's an easy reframe right there. You're right. That's on 2 or 3 of the cards. You're right. There's an obvious language pattern there. You're right. That's a limiting belief. Write it down. Like, just write it down. And wait a second. You don't need to jump on every opportunity to help your client's first thing. Give them time to keep going. Give them room to talk about other stuff. Patterns will emerge. Those patterns are really important to start paying attention to. A bigger issue may show up. Or at the very least, you didn't just train your client that as soon as you see something, you're going to interrupt them. Because now the way they're talking to you is more herky-jerky, right? The rhythm is broken because you're training them that at any moment you can do, stop. I got to reframe that. Whoa, state break that. Relax. Like, patience. That's why you have a pad of paper and a pen, so you can write stuff down and get back to it in a moment. And you can start writing down patterns and themes, and you can start making notes of stuff. And as you start seeing these notes come together, that might change your opinion on strategically what you want to do with that first thing you were so excited to jump on. So you actually have plenty of time. And a 50-minute clinical hour is a long time. I don't understand why people say it's not long. It's so long. 50 minutes? That's 2 episodes of Friends. How much character development happened in 2 episodes of Friends? That's half an Avengers movie. There's so much shit that blows up. And I get that much time with I only have to talk to one person. Avengers has to talk to 47 billion people on Earth to get their money back. I got to talk to one dude. So easy. All I have to do is listen to one person talk and pay attention. And if I'm good enough at paying attention with the skills that we all have, it's enough. Let them talk. Be patient. I'm not saying do talk therapy. I'm saying that intake, that first 20 minutes of your session, shut up. And here's how. I'm going to teach you guys all my favorite trick. I teach this to my clients with teenagers, and I've started using it with my son, even though he's still single digits, which is get a drink of your choice. Any drink works. I happen to have this one because it's full of vitamins that my wife makes me drink. You ask your client a question, and then you go like this. And you don't swallow for a really long time. And I do that with my kid. I do that with my wife. I teach that to my clients. It removes the reflex to interrupt because I have to swallow my drink before I'm allowed to talk next. It takes a teaspoon of liquid to keep my mouth closed. If I have a teaspoon of liquid in my mouth, you can't tell. It doesn't look weird. And you're so busy telling me what's going on in your life that the teaspoon of liquid in my mouth keeps me like this. I can make a little noise that's confirmation, but I'm not interrupting them. And then when I want to talk, When I'm ready, I make the conscious decision to swallow. So interrupting is removed as a reflex. As soon as you're interrupting clients, I believe you've transitioned from hypnotherapy to coaching, which is not a bad thing, but it's a different thing. And I believe the beginning of wisdom is to call things by their right names. So let's recognize when we're coaching and recognize when we're doing hypnotherapy. So holding a drink in your mouth. It's so dumb, but it works so well. And if you've got someone in your life that you're constantly arguing with, if you've got a kid, a spouse, a neighbor, a client, a whatever, teaspoon of liquid. That's all it takes. And now you're going to shut up. You're going to let them do everything. And then when they do, you say this sentence. Okay, great. Having said all that, how can I help? That's it. Great. Totally get it. Having said all that, now that you've said that, what would you like me to do about it? And then they got heard, and now they're giving you the piece that you're looking for so that you know what to do in your next session or in the rest of the session. How's that all sound? Questions, comments, feedback, anything? Oh, a round of applause from Janet. I'll take it. Thank you. Other stuff, other questions, because I can just keep going on random stuff. Oh, is there a question? Oh, yeah. Jeannie, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see it over there.
No worries. What about like if you have like a client who's like sort of like the complete opposite, like you mentioned, like clients who are sent by their doctors and they basically just say, well, I don't know why I'm here. Like, and you try to sort of like ask them, like how you can help, but then they're like, well, my doctor sent me, but I don't really know why I'm here.
Great. So the answer to most questions is when things go sideways in a session. This is just kind of to make a theme, and then I'll answer your question directly. When you're in that moment of the session, and you're like, I feel kind of flat-footed and stuck. There's two solutions usually. Solution one is ask them a good question next. Number two is you missed a step, you have to back up. And in the one you're talking about, it could be either, but I would recommend the backup one. And here's how. If a client says, I don't know why I'm here, I say, then why did you fill out my paperwork and give me money? And I need them to fill out the paperwork. I don't even care if I read it. Of course I read it. You're supposed to read it. It's your job. But I don't do it for me. I do it for them. That is them synthesizing their motivation for showing up. And so a big part of my intake form is, what's the presenting issue? I say that however I say that. And then I have a checkbox area for what emotions are associated with this. And I have so many emotions that definitely don't associate with everything so that they don't think that it's a leading thing. They're just like, just these two. And there's an other section, whatever, emotions. Then I get into what is your 1 month goal for this issue, 3-month goal, 6-month goal, 1-year goal. I ask them that. Wording doesn't really matter. The point is, I said, what's your problem? What are the emotions associated with it? I also said, who else is in your life that's connected to this? So I also have a question about that. But then I'm asking them to pre-frame their success and their standards for success. So what's your 1 month goal? Well, my goal is I grind my teeth when I sleep. My 1 month goal is, I don't know, I don't notice that I even do it. So I guess my goal is fewer headaches, or my dentist says I'm better. My 6-month goal is I go to my dentist again and they say I don't grind my teeth anymore. So I say, okay, this is, and in my intake, in that moment, when they say, I don't know why I'm here, great. Let's go to the scorecards. Let's look at what you said before you showed up as your reasons. Let's talk about these things. Here's the other piece. Remember, no client exists in a vacuum. All our clients are made out of people, and people have all sorts of patterns and problems. And you are made out of people. So we are pattern recognizing machines. And when a client starts telling you about their stuff and you're quiet and the patterns emerge, then there's this moment that, Jeannie, is kind of what you're talking about, but I experience what you're talking about more in like a consult, like a phone call consult where they're kind of shopping. And yeah, I used to get those. If you can articulate a person's problem better than they can, they will believe you are the best person to fix it. So you listen to their problem, you combine it with all the other descriptions you've heard of this problem, and you come up with a better explanation than they could do because you've got years of experience and reps that they don't have. You also pay attention to their submodality stack, right? Their visual, auditory, kinesthetic, their kinesthetic, auditory, visual, whatever they are. And you explain their problem in that sensory stack order. That's all. That's easy. We can all do that. That's just elicit and then give it back to them. And they're, yes. And then you do the same thing with their 1, 3, 6, and 12-month goals. So and say, so what you're telling me, having said all that, what you're telling me is your problem is you grind your teeth when you sleep. It's giving you headaches. You feel powerless about it because you can't fix it and your dentist is mad at you. So you've got headaches that are being caused by your unconscious behavior. And if we could just get your headaches to go away, you'd be happy. And you don't even care if hypnosis works. And you don't even care if you stop grinding your teeth. You just don't want the headaches. And I go, yeah. I go, great. Let's get rid of the headaches and see what happens to the teeth grinding. And they go, can you do that? And I go, that's all I do. How disarming is that? It's not magic. I don't have a cauldron. I don't need any props. It's just, there we go. Nice and simple, nice and easy. Does that answer your question, Jeannie?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome, you bet. Other questions before we keep going?
I would just like to say thank you for that tip because I absolutely have ADHD and it's very helpful to find any way at all to get me to shut up. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it.
It is so useful. And it's really useful for me at bedtime. Bedtime with my kiddo is when I really need to hold that water in my mouth. But this is not about him or my own personal group therapy session. Thank you. I want to shift things a little bit. And I want to talk about like sort of the private practice, finance stuff. Can we talk about business side for a second? Or is there more that you guys want to talk about on sort of the client side first? Can we jump over? Okay. Multiple streams of income is a good thing, but it's one of those you can do anything, you can't do everything kind of balance that we all have to figure out. And you can't spread yourself too thin, but you do want multiple streams of income. So you really have to look at return on investment and low-hanging fruit and all that stuff. So I want to kind of unpack that side of things. And again, I'm going to name drop. So I think there are quite a few people doing this well. I think there's quite a few people doing this badly. A person who's doing this well is Dan Candell. Dan Candell is, now I'm not saying we should copy him because I don't want to do the work he's doing. So I don't want to do it his way, but I'm really impressed by the way he's doing it because he's doing it right for him. So it's congruent. You know, it's like the socks match, the shoes match the suit. Everything Dan is doing is congruent. Everything matches. And so in his case, he found a specialty that he wanted to do and that he was good at. He got good at that specialty, got a referral source in that subspecialty, and then he put fuel on the fire. So a lot of people want to get known before they get good. And a lot of people, like with Jason Lynette has this velvet rope strategy. I'm looking at a lot of hypnotists who are putting velvet ropes in front of McDonald's. And I don't care what your rope looks like if when I get in, there's garbage on the floor. So we need to make sure the inside is clean before we have really pretty velvet ropes. And by the way, the last person I spoke to before I started this podcast was Jason, because he's a friend. And he would agree with that. You've got to make sure it's good. He says it in there. So he agrees. The point is, yes, marketing matters, but let's stop and just build this thing right. It's easy to get on TV. It's easy to get a YouTube video to hit traction. It's easy to do any of those things. It just takes getting lucky once. And once you're in a good spot, you can get lucky because you've got like a lot of opportunities to get lucky. But if you're too early and you're trying to get lucky, it's hard. So sequence really matters. Order of operations really matters. Let's figure out what we want to get good at. Get good at it. Get clients for that, and then put fuel on the fire. And now, once all that's happened, if we need to, we can spend more time talking about that. But I figure that part people understand, and we should talk about the next piece. But that pick a niche, get good at a niche, which includes mentorship, and start seeing clients for that niche. Does anybody need to spend a little bit more time, or are there any questions specifically about that piece? That's a no. Cool, great. So we'll go to the next piece that we wanted to focus on, which is you now have your subspecialty. You now have your referrals. You now have some clients coming to you for this issue, but not consistently enough for you to sort of pay bills. This is where the multiple streams of income come in. A lot of people are just saying, oh, just go make MP3s. That's not a plan. Go make a bunch of hypnosis MP3s. For who? For who? Who are those for? No one knows who you are. No one's coming to your website. You have 3 hits a week. What are you going to do? Sell 3 of them on MP3? That's not worth your time. The amount of time it took you to make that MP3 and then learn how to put it on your website or pay a person to put it on your website and then get those 3 people to do it. Wrong order. You built that too soon. We need to build credibility. We need to build trust, and we need to build that brand. Don't worry about the other pieces until you have this. Build credibility. Do not work on hype. I'm not going to name people who focus on hype. I have 4 off the top of my head, but they give themselves hype. I don't need to. There are 4 people who are marketing first. Off the top of my head, 4 people who are marketing first and clinicians 9th. They are marketers, then operators, then something else, then clinicians, then helpers, right? They're just, it's not vilifying them. They're just something else. Those people have to jump from thing to thing to thing. It's not sustainable. There's victims in those stories. There are people who didn't get what they needed. Oh, my standard for if you're ready to figure that out, I should mention this. My standard for subspecialty is figured out to next step. Here's my standard for knowing. Pick a person right now that you care about. I don't care who they are, but they're alive and you care about them. Pick that person in your head right now. Great, they're your person. Now, whatever the subspecialty you've chosen, imagine next week that person that you care about is going to deal with that issue that you've chosen. Who do you want to send them to? What hypnotist do you want to send that person you care about for the issue you care about to get better? That's how good you have to get. There it is. How good do I have to be before I start seeing clients for this? Here's the answer to your question. Are you good enough to see your loved ones? Because it's somebody else's loved one. Your next client is loved by somebody, I hope. and you owe it to the loved ones of your clients to have the goods. So that is, and it's all internal. It's just you. You decide if you've got the goods. You decide if you would help people you care about. Great. Now we're in this block of I need to pay my rent. First thing, all dollar signs go away and switch to clocks. You want to do all your math in terms of client hours. How many client hours does it cost to pay for this? Time is money. So use time as your currency. You can make money. You can't make time yet. So let's focus on time. How many client sessions? I'm sorry, I bumped my mic. How many client sessions is it going to take for you to get a new website? Because the website must generate that many more clients or it sucks. How many client sessions is the new YouTube video going to generate for you? because I understand the vanity, I understand the ego, I understand that I'm doing something, so it's progress. I'm doing something, so I'm making progress. I understand that. How much should it take? And how much is it going to give you? You need to be thinking of it in terms of time. So do you have an office? Or are you doing virtual these days? If you have an office, how many client sessions do you need to do in the office to pay for the office? And does having the office get you that many more clients? It's not, are you justifying it by you're using it? You're justifying it by it's getting you that. Does you see the difference there? Obvious once you hear it, but some people miss that. They're like, well, the office is paying for itself. The goal of the office is not to pay for itself. That's a stupid office. If the office pays for itself, you know what else pays for itself? Free. Nothing. Nothingness. Go to the beach. It pays for itself. But if this is your job, it should be making you money. Cool. Don't build a business that pays for itself. Build a business that pays you when you're not doing it. This is the thing that I did wrong for a long time. This is the thing that most hypnotists do wrong, and therefore most trainers overcorrect, or some trainers overcorrect when they're explaining, when they're talking about these multiple streams of income. You got to start teaching courses right away. You got to start putting out products right away. You got to start real hard. And selling products that aren't good enough gets you to selling products that are good enough if you're taking the feedback. So if you're going to start making stuff, you make it small for one client. And then you make a recording for one client and then give it to a couple people and get their feedback. One of the most important things I have done in my career is be a small part of helping make it easier for all of us to share shit with each other. Okay? I'm a small part of that, but I'm a part of that. So let's use that. You make a recording for your client, and then you give it to 3 other people on this call. And you say, what does this need? Don't spare my feelings. I call my baby ugly. Tell me what this thing needs to be great. That's really helping. Tell me it's good enough when it's not, doesn't really help. My ego doesn't need this. My business does. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we have a recording that we made for a specific person that now we have. So it paid for itself. We made this for this one person. Then we give it to 3 colleagues and say, hey, listen to this and tell me what you think. Really be honest. I want these to be great. And now you've got this feedback loop, and return the favor, do the same for them, right? And now all of a sudden recordings are getting better. In fact, ISHA, the International Stage Hypnosis Association, is doing a really good job of this. They're doing a wonderful job of roundtabling different ideas with each other. And I think more of that needs to be done in our community. So do that. And then start putting out content, start putting out YouTube stuff, start putting things out that build your brand. The beginnings will suck. Get feedback, be comfortable with sucking, and then suck less, and then be kind of okay, and then eventually be good. My first YouTube video is still on YouTube, and I don't know how many views it has, but I filmed it on a potato. It's terrible, low quality garbage in a living room, but I put one out there. Took me all day, and I had to have my sister follow me around with a handy cam because cell phones didn't record yet. It was BlackBerry days. You make these recordings and then you watch them. You make these recordings and then you listen to them. After you've gotten feedback from your 3 colleagues and friends, you vet them with their feedback in mind and just say, okay, let's make it better. And it's like athletes with game film. And then those things get good enough. They will be imperfect. Don't beat yourself up. Everybody suck at first. The work, how long does it take Taylor Swift to make an album? It takes a long damn time, and she's great at it. And she goes over each word and each sound and each note, and they tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak. Now, also, they're going to make billions of dollars off theirs, and you're not going to make billions, so you can kind of back off on that too, on the intensity. But it doesn't have to be good when you start. It has to be good when you ship. So now all of a sudden your YouTube videos are going in the right direction. Your audio quality is going in the right direction. And also your equipment can go in that direction too. You don't need to spend a bunch of money on really expensive stuff right now. Your phone is good enough to do like 90% of like the entire office. It does everything. It'll land you on the moon. You're good. You need your phone and a laptop. You're fine. Get the new iPad Pro. It's like $2 billion and it can hack NASA. It's great. You're good. You're done. You don't need anything else. You don't need more stuff. You just need reps with honest feedback. You need, I'm going to say this like 45 more times to you guys. You really need to get comfortable being told what's wrong. I don't know why, as our industry, we've said hypnosis is an art. How can you give me feedback? How dare you tell me how to see clients? I'm a beautiful and unique snowflake. Screw you. No, you're not. No, you're not. This is about the client. This is not about you. I'm not even curious about you. I care about your clients. I care about how their results. Are they getting better? Remember, a person you care about in this world is going to have the issue you want to specialize in. Are you the person for the job? That's it. And if you're really believing that and you're really holding that mental model, you want tough feedback. And Roy Hunter, dear friend of mine, wrote a book with the title that I hate. And I have read this book 14 times, 15 times, called The Art of Hypnosis. You might have heard of it. When I was first getting started, Roy is probably the reason I'm a hypnotist. That book was like one of the first 2 books I read. I read a book called How to Hypnotize People in an Hour. It sucked. Don't read it. And then I read an Al Krasner book and a Roy Hunter book, and I called both of them, and they both answered the phone, and they both got me into hypnosis training. Amazing. Roy's book is called The Art of Hypnosis. Hypnosis is not an art. It's not. Painting is an art. And the reason I know that is because you can go to a museum and sit there and think about it. And you can contemplate it in your own time and review it. Hypnosis is craftsmanship, because if a beautiful chair breaks when you sit in it, it's not a chair. Our stuff needs to work on time. Our stuff needs to, if the person is going to have surgery and they still feel the pain, I have failed. And I have been in many operating rooms, and it is a very tense place to be a hypnotist. And I had to know that the person was going to be ready to work. And that came through reps. That's it. No shortcut to having the goods. It's a craft, guys. The idea that you can't be audited, the idea that you can't be told it's not good enough. Movies have critics. Food has critics. Art has critics. Books have critics. That's why they get better and better and better. Because we are told what it needs and what it lacks. And for some reason, we have an industry full of people who were told they didn't need that, and they're wondering why the phone's not ringing. I've got great news. The answer to all of the problems in your private practice currently exists in between your keyboard and your chair. So right in between your keyboard and your chair in this very moment is the source of your problems and solutions. Such good news. So simple. It's a craft. Questions on any of that? Or let me know when we're ready to keep going.
I actually run into more people that are terrified of getting negative feedback. And that's why they don't put themselves out there, as opposed to the people that you run into, it sounds like, that have been told that they are beyond negative feedback. They don't need that. It's not good for them. And they need to, just be confident at all times. I run into people who think that they have to be confident in order to do this work. And so, I mean, I have how I address that, but I'm curious, how do you address that?
Well, are we talking about confidence or competence? Right?
People who,
Because
most
there are
of the
people who really want
have,
to do the confidence, but you've got to have these imbalance, because there's people who are overconfident and not doing good work.
exactly. But I feel like the people who are lacking in confidence often have the competence. They have years and years and years of course upon course upon course. They've been studying. They maybe haven't had very many sessions though, because they're terrified of putting themselves out there, because they seem to think that they need to have that special confidence that comes with, you know, the ego thinking that it can do no wrong. And I actually think it's a good thing when a person has some self-doubt, because it shows that they're considering the client. They're going, am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? So I don't think it's a bad thing. But anyway, I would love to hear
It's
how
not.
you address that.
So again, in my ridiculous name dropping hour, forgive me. The guy who taught me most of the stage hypnosis I know is on this call right now. He's over there on my screen, Richard Brumble. We did the at the Magic Castle, we did a stage hypnosis class. So cool. And there was one guy there, and this was a million years ago, Richard. There was that guy who was the street magician. He had a very Chris Angel vibe to him, and he knew nothing about hypnosis. He was a street magician. Cool, nice guy. And then next to me was a nurse who was learning hypnotic phenomenon because she wanted to be more confident in her early hypnosis career. Fun. Fast forward a couple days, we've learned some cool techniques. We've done some stuff. We're doing, Richard brought in random people off the street and we hypnotized them and we all did our own show and it was a fun thing. And the nurse said, man, this is really cool. I just need to get enough practice. And now I'm ready to start practicing and get it under my belt so I can use this someday. And the street magician said, are you kidding? I am awesome. I did 2 phenomena things in a row that worked. I'm going to take over the world tomorrow. I am going to do everything. And that guy had all the confidence in the world and the other person wasn't ready. This is not a commentary on either of their abilities because it's irrelevant in this conversation. What matters is both of them had the exact same training that I was there for. I watched both of them apply the training successfully. So Richard and I both saw that they both know how to do this. And one of them was like, let's go. And the other one was, let's go home. So as soon as you've seen craftsmanship, as soon as you, and this is why hands-on training matters. Like online learning is very good, but you need a couple times of doing it and it working. And once you know you have that, then you can say, okay, I have this beginning step. Now we need to beat the hell out of this into something good. Now we need to forge this thing. So once you have this little talent, this skill, turning that into a craft is just beating it. You beat it and you mold it like clay. And that is through repetitions and practice. That is through feedback. That is through all those things. And to all those people who are afraid of feedback, get it from us because we love you. Get it from us because we've been you. Get it from us because we want you to be good. Don't get it from your clients because they're mad because they want their money back. Get it from the people who only want you to do better. Get it from us who've seen all the things. I can't encourage you guys enough to be hypnotizing each other, to be hypnotizing colleagues, and be telling each other what you liked most and what you didn't like. If you are new to hypnosis, relatively new, if you're under 5 years in and you aren't hypnotizing 3 of your colleagues a month, I don't know what you're doing. Like, you've got to be hypnotizing a colleague every week. You really, really do. Like, if I've noticed for me, if I don't hypnotize like 10 people a week, like 8 to 10 is really my number. Like, if I don't hypnotize anybody like 8 or 10 times a week, I start feeling self-conscious and rusty. I start feeling it even after years of doing this. There is something to be said for just doing something every day makes it work. And it's that whole like 10,000 hours thing. There is something to that. So if you want to be good at this craft, if you want to have the craftsmanship, then you got to make a bunch of things that are B minuses and get a B minus with me, not your client. How's that,
That is
Krista?
so true, Scott. I guess I'm a clinician first. I hadn't really broken it down until you started explaining it. Clinician first, I guess instructor second. marketing is the thing that I hate doing, but I do because it's the only way to do the job that I like to do. So I have to do the thing I don't like to do the thing I love. But I ended up having to take like 2 weeks off because of some family stuff going on. And I usually do at least one session a day, if not three, but my sessions are like 90 minutes long because it's a different style than like traditional
Totally.
Ericksonian. But anyway, whatever. So I can't do more than three without just being kind of exhausted by the end of the day. I didn't do any sessions for 2 weeks and I had full on anxiety attack as if I'd never done sessions before, as if I was right at square one again after only 2 weeks of taking time off. So
Yeah.
these people who are afraid to jump in because they're lacking confidence, and yet the only way to get the confidence is to jump in. And the longer you don't jump in, the more you're going to be lacking like you just have to do it. So yes, that's so true.
I just watched an interview with Jerry Seinfeld talking about being nervous about returning to stand-up comedy after being away from it for a while. And you're like the defining comedian of a couple generations, right? Like Jerry Seinfeld is probably a Mount Rushmore comedian, or arguably is. And he was like, I'd taken a year off and I was terrified that I wouldn't be good enough. And you're like, okay, if the Jerry Seinfeld of comedy feels those insecurity feelings because he took some time off, then it is reasonable for us to as well. So you just got to keep the tools sharp.
It's not quite like riding a bike, is it?
No,
James
no,
Ledoux
it's
has,
really not.
let's see. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss any. James Ledoux says, how do you recommend integrating hypnotic language into your videos, Zoom appearances, and talks like this one? You, Jason Linett, and Richard Nongard, and many more all seem to have speaking hypnotic in a way that is congruent and not creepy all the time.
Yeah. So thanks, James. Here's my answer to how to do it. There's a few things. One is just practice. That's the lazy, stupid answer that I'll just get through fast. Speaking hypnotically takes a lot of practice. You should practice it in the mirror. You should practice it on teddy bears. You should practice it into your phone, then listen to it again. You should practice it on each other. You should practice it a lot. Great. Now, like a useful answer. There's a few pieces that I do. And I won't speak about anybody but me in this because it's sort of my process. The way I got good at speaking is I said a bunch of unoriginal stuff. I genuinely repeated scripts I liked into a microphone. I genuinely read monologues from movies and TV shows that I liked. I found a voice as a writer that I liked, and I read a bunch of his stuff into a microphone and into a mirror and into a webcam. I found a voice. My guy's Aaron Sorkin. You can love him or hate him. He's a writer, director. He's made a bunch of great stuff. He made The West Wing. It's pretty good. I just like the way he writes dialogue. I just like his dialogue writing. So what I did was I took scripts of his and I looked at language patterns that were already in them. And then I said, okay, there's some adverb, adjective, presuppositions in here. He doesn't use a ton of adverbs, so it's not that. But there's little things. There's language patterns. There's stuff. Then I went and looked at that pickup artist stuff. There's like use hypnotic language to get girls. And I looked at that stuff. I'm weird because I became a hypnotist as a teenager and didn't know about that stuff until my 20s. I totally missed it. Thank goodness. But I look at what they're doing and I look at what they're taught. And then I look at the difference between their marketing and what they're teaching the people. And I start paying attention. What they're doing is garbage. It's predatory garbage. And the prey is not the girls. The prey is actually the insecure boys that are paying for the thing so they go get dumped by girls that weren't going to talk to them anyway. That's fine. Those pickup artist people, it's sleazy stuff. Sure. Look at what they're doing and pay attention to why it bothers you. What's gross about it? What's icky about it specifically? Because it is. And it's not just the intention.
It's manipulative.
It is manipulative and it's strong arming. They're looking for ways to put a question at the end of every sentence so they can control your conversations. And they want to create a yes set. And so they're changing everything they're doing just to like put their thumb on the scale and just to do that. So I say, okay, I need to make sure that the language patterns I'm using don't push. They don't even really pull. The
What is
language
the phrase
patterns
for that? Because I was thinking about that the other day. There's a term for it, I think, like where somebody says okay, or you know, or know what I mean, or
are you looking for
you
softeners?
understand me? Like those kinds of like qualifying questions at the ends of statements. What is that called? Do you know?
Well, there's the ones that are like
Oh, Josh
the
says tag question.
does it, yeah, tag questions, like
Tag
the
question.
does it not?
Does it
A
not?
lot of people who studied Igor used does it not with from his mind-bending language stuff. I think Igor's very good. I think he's an instructor first. He's a very good instructor. A lot of his students get hung up on does it not questions, which is just lazy bullshit. Like telling somebody what you want them to do and say, does it not make sense?
Yeah, it's
You've
like
got to stack this stuff. A lot of people are reading the Chris Voss books, Never Split the Difference. He's an FBI negotiator. One of the things he does is tries to break a yes set, intentionally getting you to say no. So he says, hey, this doesn't seem like the craziest idea in the world to just release the hostages, does it? And gets them to start talking. So he's an example of somebody who actually understands how to not use a yes set because it's smart. My point is, if you're trying to influence a person, you're not trying to help a person. You're trying to get what you want. If I'm trying to influence you, that's about what I want. But if I'm here to listen and understand you, then this is about what you want. So James, bringing this back to your question, which is how do you have language patterns that aren't sleazy? Respect your audience. It sounds dumb and lazy and obvious, but I respect the people I'm talking to enough that I don't want to influence them. I respect my clients enough to know that most of them have smart friends and family. So they don't want to come to me for advice. They want to come to me for help. Other people have already given them advice. So I don't need to give them advice with a language pattern. I need to actually do my damn job. And doing my damn job is actually about paying attention to them at a deeper level, recognizing the themes, patterns, and drivers at a subconscious level that I can work on. If my goal is to bully someone into change through talking fast at them and reframing fast at them, the sustainability of that is weak. And the long-term success of that when they run into real problems is lame. We've all been sold something by a pushy salesperson, then hated that salesperson, then hated ourselves for falling for it. And I don't want to be that of change work. I want to make sure that they step into the change, not I pull them through a door.
I know we're at the top of the hour, but do you have time for a
I've got
couple
a little
more
bit more time.
questions? Okay.
Yeah.
And anybody who needs to leave, I totally understand and feel free to respectfully, quietly leave. But if you can stick around, we've got a couple of good questions. So Jeannie again, she said, Kristen mentioned marketing. How do you start marketing yourself when you're just starting out? Do you prefer word of mouth, social media, etc.? And then there's a two-parter. And for hypnosis audios, do you find that background music is necessary for them? Since you opened up the can of worms of the audios, we're going to go there. All right.
Yeah. So I'll answer them in the opposite order. So hypnosis audio should have background music. Yes. You can get it royalty-free for very cheap and just get 2 or 3. And like you can get a royalty-free background music for spa yoga recordings. It's going to be an hour long and your recording is 30 minutes long. If you use that same recording, but started at the 20-minute mark and then started at the 30-minute mark, you now have 4 recordings. You can just start the recording at different. And by the way, if your hypnosis is good, they shouldn't care about the music. It just adds ambiance. It's just a little something so your audio isn't naked. It gives it some production value and it's real easy to do. So I recommend it. And you can just get royalty-free music. And there's quite a few hypnotists that provide it. You can ask them for it. But it's a Google search. So marketing. The world has changed since I built my practice, right? Like when I built my practice, MySpace existed. So technology is different. But the way I built my practice isn't very different. I didn't do any marketing. I didn't spend $1 on advertising until a year into the clinic existing. So I had already been in private practice for 15 years before I spent $1 on marketing, except for a website and business cards. I put all of my effort into what I call referral sources. So oversimplified, if you want to work with golfers, don't go try to get golfers. Go get the club pro that teaches lessons at the driving range. That dude has 100 clients and golfs with everybody. He is a word of mouth guy for you. So you work with him. You say, look, this is what I can do. I can't fix their mechanics, but I can fix their brain. And you and I both know, golf guy, that the most important 8 inches in golf is the one in between your ears. Let's work there. So now all of a sudden I have a referral source. So that's how I did it. I didn't go after medical patients. I went after doctors. And that's specifically how I did it, was I went after those doctors. Now, I had to be good. I had to be ready. And it took work. But if you know what you're doing and you work with here's how to do it wrong. Hey, doctor, you know those patients you can't help? Hypnosis is better than whatever you're doing. Let me do cool stuff. Guys, the ego on doctors is even bigger than the ego on a stage hypnotist. Richard Rumble, you'll agree with me. And doctors are used to playing God. Doctors are supposed to have that ego, and doctors have taken an oath to protect their patients. So if you want to help their patients, you have to satisfy their oath to do no harm. You have to prove to them that you are going to respect their chain of command, that they are very used to being the alpha of. And if you show up to be the alpha of their chain of command, or a cowboy that can do all sorts of cool stuff, here I come, you're out. I'm a support service. I'm a member of a treatment team. I'm a clinical support specialist. That is what I do. I don't need to be the most important person in the story of you getting better. I just want to be in the story somewhere. So I can go to, for me, the way I built my practice was I went to doctors and dentists and golf pros. Those were the 3. Golf pros, doctors, and dentists for me. Is that list special? No, it's just one that worked for me. The point is, don't go after clients, go after referral sources. Because then on a day that you don't have a lot of clients or you don't have any clients, you can go shake your client trees. And each doctor is a client tree. And you go over and you shake them and 2 clients fall out. And now you have 2 clients. And then you go to the next doctor and you shake them and 1 or 2 clients falls out. And every couple months you have to shake a tree. And it's just part of your job. So like Krista, you were saying, I do the marketing I don't like so I can do the part I do. I didn't do the marketing. I did the networking. And networking is more fun for me, because that's what I'm good at. And that fits who I am. I'm not good at marketing because it's systems thinking. And I don't think in terms of systems. And you have to think about,
because I kind of suck at it.
I suck at it. Like,
I do too.
Like I talked to, again, just using Jason as an example. Jason's got these like flow charts and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but what if I just go play golf with 2 doctors instead? Like if I pay for golf with 2 doctors, that gets me more clients. That makes me more money than whatever Jason just did with those funnels.
Right.
Now, both are good. Both are reasonable. This one just happens to be mine. And there's others.
Maybe a hairstylist that you've gone to for a number of years could be a good
Yes.
resource. Piggybacking on what Scott said. So here's what I've done. When I was in Montana, I had a couple of psychotherapists that were clients that used my services for themselves that then referred me to their patients.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to work with somebody that's in an adjacent field, Also, people in the alternative health field, if your flavor of hypnotherapy happens to be a little more on the woo side, working with massage therapists, working with Reiki practitioners, working with Well, here actually, I worked at a metaphysical bookstore doing sessions from time to time for a while. And I got a lot of, I had just moved here. I didn't have any client base whatsoever. That's how I got a client base here. So, not everybody's going to have what it takes, Scott, to walk into a doctor's office or send
No,
them an email, So I wanted to give some alternatives.
but
'Cause, like,
also
even that kind of terrifies me,
I walked into 50 medical offices before I got a referral. Like, I got a lot of no's, and that's okay. Like, whatever, because I was just learning what I needed to do better. And I went in too early. I wasn't ready, if I'm really honest with myself. I started going in a little early. But that's okay. We got there. Yeah, a lot of people aren't going to be ready to do it that way. A lot of people aren't going to be comfortable doing that, but it doesn't have to be a doctor's office. It can be like a buddy you play golf with. It can be the hairstylist who is always telling you about her crazy other clients, or the last client, or the next client, all that stuff. You're like, man, that reminds me. Oh, here's how you do it. Watch this. There's two versions of this. There's the fake nephew story that I always use with my clients. I have a fake nephew. I have a real nephew and a fake nephew. My fake nephew has all these lessons that always apply to the client's situation. But I also have fake clients that if I need to talk to a potential referral source, or if we're talking about something, I go, you remind me, or that story reminds me of a client I had a few years ago. The story is always from a few years ago, for confidentiality and efficacy of your long-term success rates. So if you say, that reminds me of a client actually I had like 3 years ago, and a great person, just like you, super smart and talented, just like you, exact same issue. Now, here's what happened. They said what you just said, and then we did these things, and now they're better, and all of a sudden they can fly. And this client was claustrophobic. They came and worked with me, and they've been living underwater in a submarine for 4 years. Totally worked. We did it, guys. Now I'm telling that story to my potential referral sources. I'm not saying I'm awesome. I'm saying, listen to the success story of this person and how the modality helped them. Not I helped them. I removed myself. The modality is helping the person, and I'm an operator. And so this referral source is hearing a sales pitch of the modality, not me. Does that make sense?
Yes, I love that.
So I tell them all about, hey, hypnosis did this for this person. Hypnotherapy did this for this person. This is such a great tool for this. And here are the limits of it. So I'm going to refer to you. Here's how I'm going to pay you back. And it's not a one hand washes the other, 1-for-1 kickback exchange. It's a sincere, I know the limitations of what I can do. And I know that hypnotherapy is awesome, but not awesome for all things. Sometimes you need to go see a dentist. Sometimes you need to go see a doctor. And you say, I've got clients that I'm looking for an acupuncturist to send them to. Are you the acupuncturist that vibes with me? And then we're going to do good work together. Now, all of a sudden, it feels different than a, hey, acupuncturist, can you send me your clients? That reciprocity feels like what it is, which is fair, instead of me just saying, showing up to your acupuncture office with my hand out.
Hugh typed in the chat box, I think the term is co-opetition.
Co-opetition, yeah.
I've never heard that, but I love that. So, hey, I do need to close this down.
Yes,
here,
we all have to run.
But I want to get a show of hands. Who is attending HypnoThoughts this year? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, guys.
4, 3.5? He was like,
the
maybe, I don't know.
largest hypnosis conference in the world.
Yes. So
we gotta get you out here, guys.
Out with a little bit about HypnoThoughts, and I'll post the link so everybody can know where to get tickets.
I had tickets, but I can't come. I had tickets and I had to sell it because I have a huge debt that I have to pay off, and I can't come this year. But I'm going to be there next year. I promise.
Good.
Please.
We'll see you.
Yeah, it happens. But yeah, HypnoThoughts, we have just under 1,000 hypnotists from all over the world come. We have a dedicated networking space this year that is pretty darn, is half the vendor room of last year is going to be dedicated to 24/7 networking. And a handful of mucky mucks, the big deal people that everyone are excited about, have all said, oh, I'm just camping out in there and talking to our people the whole time. And so we're going to have dedicated space for you to get mentorship, networking, practice, all that stuff. and hundreds of hours of hypnosis training built in with the price of admission. We have parties every night. We have fun constantly. And
oh yeah, tell us about what the theme is for the dance party this year.
Yeah, a couple years ago we did 80s. This year we decided to do Zoom formal. And what that means is fancy from the waist up, casual and comfortable from the waist down. So you can wear a tuxedo up top and pajamas down below, or anything that seems fun to you. And it's a whole party full of people that are just happy to see each other. So it's the happiest group of hypnotists you're going to see this year.
Yeah. And I'll be there presenting Sunday at 2 p.m. and I can't remember which room, but there's a whole schedule on the website. So you'll find that.
There's a whole schedule.
So I did put the link over in the chat box, but you know what? I'll put it in the Hypnotherapy Uncensored group also, just so that everybody has that. And then Scott and co-founder Stephanie Skiba have another group that's just HypnoThoughts Live. I'll post that link in the Hypnotherapy Uncensored group in case you're not already over there. I think all of you are, but just in case, and also for future YouTube audience. I'll make sure I post it in there as well. All right. Thank you so much, Scott. This has been just absolutely invaluable. You have lots and lots of praise over in the chat box. So if your ego is needing a little bit of a lift, feel free and go read all of those comments. People are just, yeah, this has been fantastic, very educational. And I learned some new things, which I love. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll see you in 4 or 5 weeks, I think.
Yeah, in 42 days, 43 days.
42 days. And I'm so not ready.
Telling me.
The pressure's on.
You want to talk about not ready?
Oh, I bet.
I got a lot of signs to purchase in the next 42 days.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you'll pull it off brilliantly. You always do.
Oh, no, we're going to have a great time. We're in Stephanie, we trust.
In Stephanie, we trust. Well, and you have a very calming, easy way about you. So I'm sure that helps immensely. All this stuff.
There's no pressure on me. Like, that's the beauty of this whole thing. I have no pressure on me. I am the poster boy. I am the poster boy of a group of people that think hypnosis is neat. And if like that,
go a little farther than that, but okay.
Like if that gets me, like if I can't get out of bed, if I'm hiding under the bed because of the pressure of people who also like helping people, want to help me and help each other, help people. This is all for fun. This is all for fun. And we all just get to help people and enjoy each other.
What a beautiful way to look at it. I'm going to use that for my clients who are lacking in confidence that are colleagues too. Like if we can't all just get out of bed because we want to help each other, then I don't know what we're doing.
What are we doing here? This is all for fun.
Yes.
I'll see some of you,
Thank you so much, everyone.
44 days and some of you online in between now and then.
Thanks, Scott. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Scott.